you see the 3 white stakes back there?
Uh-huh.
3 white stakes back there. That's what I've got marked out.
Right.
For me and Mom to be buried.
Okay.
There's enough room back there for four graves. So he told the church ladies, he said, I tell you what, I'll make you folks a deal. He said, y'all pray hard, double up on your praying and pray hard. And if I should survive and get well, he said, I promise you that I will quit selling whiskey out of the grocery store. There won't be any more alcohol sold out of the grocery store.
You pray me back to health.
Yep. So, as luck would have it, or as prayers work, his condition turned for better and he got well, and he honored his commitment. He put the word out in the community that when the store closed on a certain Saturday at noon, he was going to roll his whiskey barrels out on the front porch and pour out all the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And he did just that. And instead of being upset, instead of being happy, the church ladies were upset because all of their husbands got them containers and crawled under the porch and caught the whiskey. He served in the Civil War, and his second wife got pension. I think it was a couple of dollars a month from his service. Samuel's father died with substantial acreage of land, and Samuel sold his inheritance and brought his family and slaves with him from South Carolina down here in, I think it was 1823 when he came. And John's father was James. James was given the rank of captain in the Revolutionary War. He provided animals to the Revolutionary, to the Continental Army,
Right.
To help feed them. There was a big battle in Camden, and there was a bunch of revolutionary troops go straight there, and he reportedly helped or fed them. Anyway, the documentation says that he provided before it had been pasteurized.
Right.
But we used to go out there, and after we got rid of the cow, Mom would get raw milk and churn it, and sell butter to the neighbors.
Really?
And I would deliver the butter to the neighbors around that she sold it to. And we always had an ample supply of raw milk, and then after she churned it, got the butter out of it, we had plenty of buttermilk. So in our refrigerator there was 2 kinds of milk: sweet milk and buttermilk.
Okay. Midland City.
Midland City, laid out by the Midland Railroad.
Really?
Yep, the streets, the original streets and avenues were laid out by the railroad.
You press it once, Dad, and it records for a minute. So it's recording now.
Yeah,
There's a
okay.
little button on the back. fully stabilized. It's got all the bells and whistles.
Turn right here. When I was a kid, our property line came all the way to this road and went to these trees. From the brood sows, we'd get 2 or 3 litters of pigs every year, and we kill 1 or 2 of them and sell the rest. The house here, when I was growing up, didn't have any grass. We swept the yards with gallberry bush brooms. The back of the house there, where you see the blue door, that was a back porch.
Yeah, I remember the back porch.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little room at one point off that way.
Yeah, that was the bathroom.
Yeah.
That was the only bathroom. And one time I remember there was a debate between my father and the guy who had sold him the land as to where our land started. And the guy had sold us the land, turned left.
Yeah.
Sold us the land, and they measured it from the bottom of the ditch.
Okay.
And as it turns out, the right-of-way comes further down than the ditch. So our property line down there, we moved it.
Oh.
We took the fence up and moved it. Also, all of these blocks were laid out with an alleyway. The city owned an alleyway, and so the city gave to the 2 joining landowners half of the alleyway. So we moved the fence even further. And I think all of the 7 trees are still here that we had originally. This tree right here is a sly tree, which is a paper shell tree, and all the other trees are Stewart's. Williams' gravestone here. Her name was Eleanor, and she was married to Max Williams, but they were divorced. They didn't live together. He was the postmaster in Midland City, and she was the assistant postmaster. And they worked. There was only 2 of them, and they worked like this side by side in the post office every day, and then went their separate ways. And I always thought that was funny. I thought people that were divorced were supposed to be, you know, one of them on one end of the earth, and one on the other.
But they would find a way to work together.
Yeah, they worked together, but they couldn't live together. He was he drank a lot. He was red-faced all the time.
Yeah.
And I can remember we had a pastor for about 2 or 3 years, and every year he asked all the members to sign an abstinence from alcohol commitment card.
Right.
And one year a bunch of us kids were sitting in an unusual place, and he was sitting behind us, and I could smell the alcohol coming off of him while he was signing it. About I don't know, 25 years ago, probably closer to 20 years ago, when I first got interested in genealogy. I got peanuts turned upside down there.
Just want to go grab a bunch of them and put them in the back of the car.
Probably get an electric fence.
Yeah, probably.
I met with a couple. She was the head of the Dale County Genealogy Society, and her husband grew up right there close to my grandfather's, where I was born.
Right.
And so we were talking about the things that, you know, that were there now, the things that were there then, and so forth. And I mentioned that I remembered, and I don't know how old I was, but I remember that there was a car coming down the road in front of our house, and just as the car got in front of our house, it literally fell apart. remember it. And so I was telling him, and he said, yeah. He said, I know whose car that was.
No way.
And he said, I remember going with my father or my uncle or somebody on a 2-horse wagon, and we picked up all the pieces of that car. He said, I know whose car it was, and I remember exactly when it happened.
Oh, wow.
Like, you know, you often wonder when you remember something like that, if it's something that you remember or it's something that you've dreamed.
Oh, yeah, right.
And he said, oh yeah, I remember, I know whose car that was, and I helped them. I went down there with them when they picked it up and loaded it on the wagon. We're going to turn right here. It's flashing. This is Midland City Cemetery here. Midland City was not formed until the early 1900s, so there's not terribly old graves out here. A lot of the original graves here are those of railroad families that came when the Midland Railroad came through town. And right over here is where Granny B and Papa Bullington and Willie and Elva and Daddy and Daddy's first wife are buried. And Uncle Herb and Ruth are buried. They're the third headstone over there.
Okay.
A lot of folks that I grew up with out here.
So the Mount Carmel church area is where Granny B's family grew up?
Well, it's where, yes, where her Newton side of the family were.
Okay.
Her great-grandfather, Richard Benjamin, immigrated with 2 or 3 other brothers to the U.S. Just in time to get caught up in the Civil War. He was given patented 160 acres of land down this road here to a ways. And he had a big family after the Civil War, and his number 2 son, Thomas Jefferson Newton, was Granny B's grandfather. And this we're going to turn left. We're going to turn right here. This old house right here is where Thomas Jefferson and his family grew up. We'll turn right. They've cleaned that up there. It used to be, you used to couldn't see the old house.
Yeah.
And he owned all this land right here, and he's the one. His daughter, who was Granny B's mother, was Stella Newton, and she had 5 brothers who all attended Duke University and were Methodist ministers. One of them never served as a minister, although he was ordained. He, right after graduating from seminary, got pneumonia and died. And Richard Benjamin, Thomas Jefferson, You remember coming here as a kid.
So I do. If I was going to have drawn a picture or a map on how to get here, or what it would look like an elevation, I would have said that the road come in a completely different direction than it does. But I definitely remember this place and the shed out back where we'd have dinner on the ground a couple of times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, William, when I was a kid, this area of the cemetery right in here was full of wooden markers.
Right.
And they've all disappeared. They've all rotted out, and they don't have a cemetery map. They don't know. I mean, that open area right in there, it's all full of graves.
Right.
It'd be interesting to get some radar and see what you could find. If there's anything left there, if you know what I mean.
Here's some Skeeto folks.
Yeah, here's the famous.
Oh, it's the famous Bill Skeeto's grave.
Yep, yep.
William Skeeto, Sr., son of John and Anna Skeeto. Died December 3rd, 1864. Our dear father, gone but not forgotten. Look at the symbolism right there. I wonder what that is.
Probably pointing to the crown, to the king.
Yeah.
I was telling you about the three Bull brothers.
Right.
Well, one of them is buried right here in this. This is Robert Edward. He's a guy that I pointed to the big house and told you where he lived. And he and infant son, and I don't know the whole story, but he died when he was. This was a son. Died when he was 25, and there apparently Robert Edward had an insurance policy on him, and the insurance company refused to pay the policy. And he told somebody in the community that if he ever collected that, then he was going to put a monument up for his son, and as a result he finally did collect, and
that's how these graves got
they all got put up, paid for.
How about that?
Now, the mother of the three Bull brothers was unmarried, and this is her grave right here.
Okay.
This is the mother of Robert, which we called Ed, Robert Edward, Ed, and William or Bill, and then my grandfather Henry. And all three of them are buried here, but unfortunately Henry's grave was marked with a wooden marker, and nobody knows where it is. This is the other brother, William, right here.
William and Seti Marshall.
Yeah, and what happened right after he died, all of the bulls, all of the male bulls that were living went to the courthouse in two groups and changed their name from Bull to Marshall. So they had already planned that, and by the time this got set, they although his name was not one of the ones that got changed, they marked him as a Marshall because they knew who their father was.
Wow. So they renamed themselves Marshalls because they knew their dad's name.
Yep. And their dad's name was Francis Joseph Marshall, who was married to Mary's sister, Mary
Okay.
the mother.
Yeah.
And right after Virginia Bull and Francis Joseph got married, Mary and Virginia's father died. Mother had already died. So Mary went to live with Virginia and Francis Joseph. And in a few years, she started having
babies by him.
Yeah, well, she either had babies by him or some Marshall. And the stories that are told on both sides of the family was that it was him. And Henry is buried out here somewhere, but who knows where it was. I believe that it was right in here somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't have any proof. And jump into the other side of the family. This is my biological mom here,
Okay.
Ella Mae. And this is her mom and dad right here. Batson Bright and Susan Stella Newton. She's the one who had 5 Methodist minister brothers.
Okay.
This is the one that never preached.
Okay.
John Carl, and one of my first cousins, Aunt Faye's oldest, is named after him, Carl.
Okay.
Son of Thomas Jefferson and M.A.M. Newton. So this mother,
Right.
grandmother,
Right.
okay, and let's see if I find, there's another bull.
Bull,
That
Brady Bull.
didn't live very long.
Right.
This is the immigrant here. So we just skipped one. I'll have to find him. He's out here somewhere.
Right.
But mother, grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
the great-grandfather, and this is great-great-grandfather.
Okay. Benjamin R. Newton.
Benjamin Richard.
And he migrated over here?
He immigrated, migrated, however you want to say it. And he wound up here, and he married the 3rd Bull sister, Mary Bull,
Okay.
Virginia Bull,
Uh-huh.
and this is Julianne Bull.
Okay.
So the families were
Wow.
connected
Okay.
way back there. Mom and Dad were related. They didn't know it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Her dad's mom is over there,
Right.
okay, and Mom's grandmother, great-grandmother is right here.
Okay.
They're sisters.
Okay.
So let me see if I can find the missing link. This grave here is the first son. He's the elder son of Benjamin Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 3 brothers, and I've been to where they were born in Croydon, England.
Yeah.
Their father was a postmaster corn merchant in Croydon, England, which is just a few miles south of London.
Right.
And when the father died, he and 2 brothers came to the U.S. The other 2 wound up in Wisconsin, and he wound up here. And the story is that he somehow ran into her dad,
Mm-hmm.
and they came this way.
Wow.
They came to Georgia and then to here.
He was a Mason. See the Mason symbol.
Yep. And he was in the army, in the Confederate Army. And there's two groups of Newtons in the area, and he's the predecessor of one. And then, do you remember Newton Grocery in Dothan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another set of Newtons that they don't connect.
I got you. So, what did you come? Do you remember coming to this church and coming to this cemetery as a kid?
Yeah. This is where I first started getting the stories. Well, wait just a minute now. Our name is Marshall,
Right.
and you're telling me that we're kin to all these bulls.
Right. And so that's when the stories started coming out.
Yeah,
Huh?
well, well, there was, he had a bunch of girls, and when they went to school, they said, "You're not a bull, you're a heifer." And I'm like, okay, I hear that. Now, why did they choose the name Marshall? Oh, here they are, right here.
Mary Newton and
Can't read it, but it's
Thomas J. Newton.
there you go. So it's mother, grandmother, great, and then great great
Oh wow.
over there. And all of the Newtons, Zeffie Pearl Newton
Yeah.
is part of every Newton out here is part of this family. So I'd like, Mama, how did they choose the name Marshall?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, I'm not sure, but I think I heard, and there used to be a big cedar tree right here. She said, I think I remember hearing that there was somebody in the neighborhood that they respected, and they decided to use that name. And and every time we'd come, the question would come up, and I would get some kind of answer like that.
Right.
Another answer was that somebody in the family did something bad and left the area and went to Texas,
Right.
and they didn't want to be associated with that name any longer, so they changed. These are all connected to the Newton family.
Okay.
Now here's Uncle Tom
Okay. Yeah.
and his wife Jean,
Okay.
and this is the one, Carol, that committed suicide, and that's Debbie's son Greg.
Okay.
I've got pictures of every grave out here,
Yeah.
and have some information about just about every one of them. There's a few that I don't have any information on. Like that grave, I don't know
Right.
whose it is. And I never attended this church,
Right.
but we always came every year
Like a homecoming or
for
something?
the homecoming.
Yeah.
And one of the brothers had died before well, he hadn't died, but he was feeble. No, he had died, I'm sorry. There was 3 of them, and they would come, preach a while, sing a while, eat a while, preach a while, sing a while, all day singing with dinner on the ground. And I guess I thought when I moved back that I would have more connection with this church
Yeah.
than I do. But I obviously I don't have any connection with it. But it's all the collections that they took up that day every year went
Right.
to the cemetery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and several people have donated to it independently. So it's pretty well maintained.
Yeah. I don't know how long them chairs have been around right there.
That was right beside the steps. House had a front porch on it. Front porch is still there. Part of it is.
Yeah.
The people that live up here now, before this grew up around it,
Right.
my granddaddy's nickname was Buck. B-U-C-K. Buck Bright.
Right.
And they call this the Buck House.
The Buck House.
Yep. The old block that's what that is.
Ooh, that's soft.
What's it got on the bottom of it?
There's the old one.
Dothan, Alabama. I'm gonna take that as a souvenir.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
There was a bunch of pecan trees over here to our right,
Yeah.
and Granddaddy used to kill a crow or shoot a crow, hoping not to kill him, but injure him and hang him up. And all the crows would come try to help him, and then when they saw they couldn't help him, they'd leave. There,
Right.
and there was a back door over there.
And was this the kitchen in here?
No, this was a storage room here.
Okay.
And this is where everything happened in the house.
Yeah.
And the house had one light. It was right up there.
Okay.
When they brought power through, Granddaddy Bright said, "I don't want any power." And they said, "No, we're electrifying this area, and you got to have power,
Right.
and it won't cost you anything." And they pulled 2 wires over to the house and ran one light bulb right in there. There was no meter. There was no nothing. Part of the REA. This is where I set myself on fire.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So this was a guest bedroom kind of thing?
I don't remember anybody there. When I lived here, there wasn't a light in here. There was one light in the house.
Really?
Yeah. And it started out being one of those shotgun
Okay.
houses, you know, but I think this was added later.
Right.
And I don't know what we're going to stir up in here.
Yeah.
I remember a wooden ice box sitting sitting right here.
Yeah.
And when the Iceman came on Wednesday, and when the ice melted across the road, there was a spring head my granddaddy had buried a half of a barrel in, and the water coming out of the ground was, you know, like 70 degrees.
Right.
And I don't remember any of it, but I'm told that there was a sewing machine cabinet sitting right here with a quilt laying on top of it.
Right.
And when I realized I was on fire, I grabbed that quilt